Welcome back to the sanctuary of Turkish series stars, the corner of the internet where we don't skim headlines but listen to the heartbeat beneath them. The air around us is thick today, as if the studio itself knows we are standing at the edge of a story that feels like a final chapter. We aren't tiptoeing around a minor quarrel or the familiar drift of two people overwhelmed by their calendars. We are confronted with a word that makes even the most seasoned fans pause: irreversible. After weeks of whispers winding their way through Istanbul's backstage corridors, the rumor has stepped into the sun. It points to a decision by Hzal Subaşı that didn't just pivot her path, it shook the very blueprint of the life she and Urkin had imagined together. Before we walk through what remains of something so cherished, take a second to anchor yourself here. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and if you believe in storytelling that protects the human heart rather than preying on it, consider pressing join. Your support lets us treat stories like this with the respect they deserve. Breathe in. We are about to enter the hush that follows when a dream collapses. For a couple who mastered balance and guarded their serenity beyond the glare of flashbulbs, this break feels like the earth shifting underfoot. Whatever unfolded behind their locked doors was far more complicated than the glamorous snapshots that fed our timelines for years. Those closest to the actress insist this wasn't a thunderbolt of impulse. Instead, they describe a tide that rose slowly, unmistakably. Hazal's schedule became ferocious: international offers, brand obligations, scripts that called her far from home. Her new ambitions began tracing a map that veered away from the life she knew. She found herself between two roads. On one side, the steady warmth of a man who loved her; on the other, the dazzling pull of purpose she had dreamed of since the beginning. After weeks of private reckoning, nights when she lay awake and listened to her thoughts turn over like pages she could not stop reading, Hzal chose a direction. Those in her inner orbit explain it didn't come from a petty slight or a trivial misunderstanding. It was a decision fired in hours of silence, cooled in contemplation, and sealed by clarity. And that is why the word irreversible sticks like frost on a window. A bridge wasn't only crossed, it was left in flames behind her. For Urkin, the landscape has turned bleak. He's known in the industry as dependable, poised, the kind of man who can step from a set to a gathering and carry the same calm into both rooms. But people close to him describe that calm collapsing under the weight of this news. Friends say he stepped back from everything, folded into the shadows, and let the quiet take him. The composure we associate with him has been replaced by a stillness that says more than any statement ever could. The tears, if the whispers are true, weren't just about losing a girlfriend. They were the visible shape of a bigger realization, that a future he had rehearsed in his mind had been edited without his permission. In those first days, he kept his world very small, allowing only a trusted few to enter, and even then, barely speaking. The noise outside was deafening; inside, he kept vigil with his grief. Predictably, the fan universe trembled. The internet did what it always does when confronted by a loss it doesn't understand: it scrolled backward. Old photos returned like postcards from a vanished country: the boat rides, the sunlit smiles, the private jokes caught in imperfect candids. Their past unfurled across timelines like a film playing in reverse. And the question hovering over every comment section was almost a prayer: can this really be how a love like that ends? Some applauded Hazal's courage to choose a path that felt truer to the woman she is becoming. Others fixated on Urkin's heartbreak, insisting that the cost of her choice seemed unreasonably high. What emerged from this split wasn't just noise, it was a real debate in a place that often forgets nuance. How much should a person sacrifice to remain whole? What is the price of becoming oneself? Those who know Hzal well say this grew from a need to meet herself again, to stand outside the joint silhouette of a couple and see her name in full light. She reportedly told a friend, "I can't keep dimming parts of me, even if they are small." To her, this isn't running from Urkin. It's an act of self-definition, choosing to reorganize a life that had become too braided to separate without pain. None of this makes her unfeeling. Sources insist she cried before, during, and after making the call. Leaving doesn't sting less than being left, the ache only blooms in a different place. She carries the decision with her chin lifted, but her chest heavy, each step forward pulled by conviction and slowed by memory. Let's pause here, Turkish series stars family. This is not only a story about two names we know, but about a crossroad most of us meet at least once. Have you ever chosen the hard path that rescued you while breaking someone you cared for? I want to hear the stories only you can tell. Drop a comment, share your perspective on Hzal's choice, and if this kind of thoughtful conversation matters to you, press like so we can keep doing it. Meanwhile, Urkin has met this public unraveling with an almost sacred quiet. When cameras have found him in recent days, there's been a gravity in his expression that sentences could never capture. The rumors trickling out say he's wrestling with acceptance, caught in loops of memory he can't turn off. In his silence is a mourning not just for what they were, but for the not-yet moments they spoke about as if they were certain, trips they meant to take, a space they planned to make a home, mornings that would begin with the ordinary rituals two people carry when they know they are building a life. In an instant, those plans evaporated, and the smoke hasn't cleared. The press, ravenous as ever, narrowed its focus to the night everything shifted. Accounts vary in little details, but the mood, sources agree, was cinematic in its restraint. No shouting. No accusations tossed like grenades. The air was heavy, words short, and silences long enough to swallow them whole. Hazal's tone was steady, her conclusion unwavering, while Urkin looked as if he was trying to translate something that wouldn't make sense no matter how many times he repeated it. They avoided meeting each other's eyes too long, not from anger, but from the fear that a single direct look would make the hurt impossible to bear. It wasn't dramatic, it was devastating in the quietest way. Despite the steel she's shown in public, a storm lives under Hzal's composure. Friends say she repeats a sentence like a lifeline, I am doing this for me. The mantra steadies her, but it doesn't erase the ache. She has silenced her phone for days at a time. She walks before dawn, alone, letting the city exhale around her. These rituals, small, private, tell a truth she's not hiding, she isn't immune to loss. She is grieving the very person she is leaving, honoring what they were even as she refuses to return to it. On Urkin's side, the rawness is untouched. He has reportedly asked the question that anyone who has loved and lost recognizes instantly, how does something this real end? Inside that line lives a spark of hope. Tiny, stubborn, and impossible to extinguish overnight. It suggests that a part of him is still waiting for the door to crack open, even an inch. But those closest to Hzal say the latch has been drawn, the chain slipped tight. Reconciliation, they insist, isn't just unlikely, it's not on the table at all. That bluntness is the spine of that unyielding word we began with, irreversible. Their shared world hasn't escaped the fallout. Mutual friends are moving carefully, trying not to fall into the chasm splitting the middle of their circle. Some are checking on Urkin daily, offering him presents without prying. Others are protecting the boundary Hzal drew, giving her the quiet she asked for. Invitations have been revisited. Group trips are being reimagined or shelved altogether. Work that might have included them both is being recalibrated. A familiar orbit has broken, and everyone is learning to move in a sky that looks the same but feels different. Where does this leave the story? With a choice that will be dissected for months, maybe longer. Subaşı has chosen a beginning so bold it borders on frightening, a step into a life whose shape only she can draw. On the other side stands Urkin Meriç, facing the kind of goodbye that arrives too soon no matter when it comes. This isn't just another celebrity split. It will sit in our collective memory like a fairy tale that misplaced its last page, caught between longing, ambition, and the hard honesty of choosing yourself. Time will show what grows in the clearing they've created. For now, there's quiet. And in that quiet, the truths people try not to say out loud reveal themselves in the language of tears. Thank you for walking this difficult path with us here at Turkish Series Stars. If this touched you, share it with someone who needs a story told with care. Don't forget to subscribe, tap like, and press join if you want to help us keep doing this the right way. Take gentle care of your hearts until we meet again.